first time getting high. For some people, it was probably the most euphoric experience in their life, and for others, it was probably traumatizing. Regardless of how it went, everyone always remembers their first time. So I think it's my turn to tell you about my first time. Just a warning, this story gets kinda crazy. Now this might be surprising for you guys, but I was kind of a late bloomer when it comes to the Mary J. I was 19 years old when I first got properly high, and the reason why I'm saying properly is because I tried smoking weed at a party when I was 16. Like I took a hit and pretended to be high, waving about the place to impress that one girl that I liked, but in reality, I didn't feel shit. I'm not even sure I inhaled it properly. Anyway, let's get back to the story. I was 19 years old on a trip with my friends all the way in London. We booked an Airbnb and there was about 5 of us. So for our first day on the trip, we went around London for the day, and when we finally got back to the Airbnb, it was late. It was like 11 p.m. and we were slumped. So we're all there just slumped out on the couch watching TV and talking about the day, and one of my friends had a question, and this question changed the course of all our lives. Yo, you guys want to get high? Now this particular friend was a new addition to our friendship group, so when he asked that question, the rest of us thought he was joking around, but no, this guy actually pulls out a bag full of weed, and I'm just sat there in the corner of the room looking at him astonished, almost mesmerized. I've never seen this much weed in front of me. That's the kind of shit you'd see in like movies and rap videos. Anyway, this guy's like, yo, what you man saying? Because everyone was like zoned out for a bit. They just couldn't believe this guy whipped out a bag full of weed so casually. 5 minutes later, this guy sat there in the living room table just grinding up the weed, and the rest of the boys are surrounding the table looking at this guy construct a zoo. Me personally, I was a bit concerned because I'm kind of cautious about what I put into my body, but my boy, let's call him Ziam, he told me that weed is a natural plant. How can something so natural be harmful to your body? Yeah, but poisonous snakes, they're natural and they could kill you. What about poisonous mushrooms? They're natural plants and they could kill you. After hearing the points that were raised, Ziam was quiet for a solid minute, and when he finally spoke, he gave me a whole life lesson, bro. This guy dissected the concerns I had about weed and absolutely flipped me on my head. He talked about the effects of cigarettes compared to weed and the scientific studies conveyed on weed and how people smoke weed. This guy gave us a speech for a solid 5 minutes, all while sitting there on the table rolling up zoots. That's when I knew this guy was the biggest stoner I will ever see. But I'm not gonna lie, the speech that he made was enough to convince me to give it a go at least. So boom, 5 minutes later, we're out of the Airbnb, we're going for a walk with 7 fat zoots for the 5 of us. But before we start walking, Ziam makes us stand in a circle and he distributes a joint to each one of us, almost as if he was Jesus distributing bread to the people. So we start walking, each one of us with a zoot in our hand. I was awkwardly holding my zoot like a sword. Ziam then whips out a lighter and he starts lighting up his zoot, and he passes the lighter down the line. Before I knew it, everyone had a lit up zoot and they were inhaling. There was coughing to the right and the left of me, bro. I felt like I was in a retirement home. So we were smoking and walking for a solid 10 minutes before someone realized we had no idea where we were. Turns out we were so focused on getting high for the first time, we just started walking. But this road that we're walking down would later be known as the iconic road, because every single night for the rest of the trip, it would be that road that we walked down just getting high and fucking about. In fact, that's the very same road where my Instagram profile picture was taken. Anyway, 15 minutes into the walk and I am high. Everything was more vibrant. The leaves were greener, the stars in the sky seemed more brighter. Even the song that my friend was playing sounded better than before. So we're just walking up this road, no idea where it leads, making jokes, doing rap battles. One of my boys was sat there in the middle of the road doing Fortnite dances, while my other boy was sat there freestyling. There was a shit ton going on. Safe to say, everyone was fried out of their minds, especially myself. On a scale of being high from 1 to 10, I was a solid 12.5. Like, I kept having moments where I zoned out from conversations and I just analyzed everything. And I was looking at my friends, who by the way were having the time of their life, and I was asking myself, were they truly as high as me? And it turns out they were. I turned around to look at Ziam and I will never forget what I saw. I saw a guy walking like an uncle with a zoot in one hand and the lighter in the other, with the goofiest grin and his eyes barely open. This has got to be the highest guy ever. And I was faded than a hole myself. It felt like I had been walking for hours. Oh, I forgot to tell you, Ziam started bugging out. Ziam was sat there looking off into the distance, saying, yo, who's that guy? Why does he keep looking at me? And this guy was pissed, and I couldn't figure out why, because there was no one there. No, G, look at it far away, fam. Who's that guy looking at me, fam? And everyone else was telling him, bro, there was no one there, you're bugging. After a while, we figured out it was a bush. He thought it was someone standing and staring at him. It was a fucking bush. You see, now this is the stage where I start feeling a bit of the dark side of the marijuana. It was my first time being high. I'm in a completely different setting in London, away from my hometown, and my own boy sat there bugging out, talking about who's that guy looking at at me. It was a little bit unsettling, but as soon as one of my boys cracked a joke, we were back to giggling and fucking about. 5 more minutes of walking and we came across a gas station. And you know what that means, right? Munchies, bro. Oh my days. Food has never tasted as good as it did on that night. While I was going around the shop filling up my basket up with Pringles, Fanta, Toblerone, one of the boys was sat there talking to the girl behind the till. And this is the story of how we met Hansa. Now, Hansa was this lady in her early 20s who used to work the night shift in this gas station. And every single night for the rest of the trip, we would go on a weed walk on the iconic road and make our way to the gas station, flirt with Hansa for a bit, buy some munchies, and make our way back to the Airbnb. Now, this was a 30-minute walk. As we started walking back, Ziam suddenly started jumping and laughing. And at this point, I'm thinking, alright, this guy's completely lost it. Nah, listen, I completely forgot about this, he said as he pulled out 2 fat zoots. These were the 2 extra zoots that he had bought and we'd completely forgotten about it. We instantly lit it up and I was back to being high. I think this time around, I was even more blasted because I remember seeing a building, right? And that building was exactly where it was even after 15 minutes of walking. I swear the building didn't move and I felt like I was walking forever, like we were making no progress at all. I could have sworn I walked for like 5 minutes and I looked back and the gas station's right there. And that's when I realized I was in a whole different frequency of thinking. And then the worst thing you could imagine happened. As soon as I saw the red and blue lights, I thought my life was over. And it wasn't only me, all of us were terrified. Except Ziam, because this guy's such a stoner, he knows all his rights off by heart. Gee, you man need to calm down. The police can't do shit to us. We finished our zoot, and even if we did have a zoot with us, all they're gonna do is give us a warning. I mean, fair enough. You need a guy like Ziam in your smoke group, bro. After a couple of minutes, we ran into a trolley on the side of the street. And you know, we had to mess with it, because we're high off our head. So I ran to the trolley and I jumped straight on it, screaming at one of my boys to come and push me around. And as soon as I turn around, I see 4 people sprinting towards me. 3 of my boys jumped into the trolley with me, almost crushing my legs. And one of the guys grabbed the handle and he just started spinning us about. Bro, we were drifting on our trolley in the middle of the road. I'm sat there in a trolley with my legs being crushed by 3 human beings, getting spun around in the middle of the road by a guy who's high off his head laughing like a maniac. I've never been so sure that I was gonna die in my life. A couple of minutes later, things finally calmed down, only because the guy who was spinning us around felt a little bit dizzy because he was high. Bear in mind, I'm still below 3 grown adults with my legs getting crushed, and one of the guys turns on the flash in their phone, puts it on top of the trolley, and says, "Look at us, we're a car with headlights." As soon as he said that, bro, everyone sat there bursting out laughing. We were so high, just the thought of the Tesco shopping cart being a car was the funniest thing to us. There were so many things that happened that night. Anyway, that was the first day of the trip. There are so many things that happened during that trip. I'm probably gonna make a part 2 to this. Let me know if you guys want to hear it.